Hello and welcome everybody to reading through Framing Monsters, Fantasy Film and Social Alienation by Joshua David Bellin. I hate this book already and we're only 10 pages in. I am convinced that this man is insane. But we're about to get deeper into the Mouth of Madness. Joining me today, first, our lovely lady.
Hello, everyone.
Hello. So, and then we have a few more guests. Allow me to bring in the others. All right, welcome, Drake the Duelist.
Hey, Drake.
Yep. And now we have another. Welcome, Dr.
Hey, Crow.
Hello, Wise Wolf.
Yeah.
Hello, Wise Wolf. And I did not create a thing for Mr. Harper, so this will be the placeholder.
My old enemy. You cannot hide from me.
Hey!
What is... Yes, that is awesome. What is that from?
Diablo, I'm thinking?
Yep, Diablo 3.
Thought so.
Nice.
Was you working on Akashic Record, Neff? Or
I think so.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think it is.
No idea.
Well, we're in for a treat today.
Conversations.
Well,
do we have to?
yes,
Yes.
we do.
Can we do something fun instead?
Do
What are you
what?
talking about? This is fun.
Oh no, she's got Stockholm syndrome.
What? No, I actually did enjoy the last one we did.
I wasn't here for the last one. Good to you at least give me a brief summation of what the first 10 pages were.
Purple
Kong is
Prose Hell.
Okay then.
Kong is Christ.
It's going to be a whole lot. It's going to be a whole lot of.
It gets better. It gets fucking better. Okay.
Yes.
You
And
keep using the word. I don't think it means what you think it means.
Yes.
Did we even
Yes!
make it 10 pages in?
Yes,
yeah,
we
we're-
did get 10 pages in.
as well
We're
as. Yep.
Okay.
Or
Boy, do I hate being right all the time.
Save him, John. Save him.
Yep.
Gonna need them.
Yeah. Or yeah. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna
Yes,
be
it
fun.
is. Yes.
I'll take a glass of bleach, Wise Wolf. That'll be my drink of choice.
Yep, make it 2.
Oh dear.
I've
We're
got
gonna-
soda, and that works fine for me because soda worked last time.
Yeah. So essentially, like, this guy is a hyper interpretive, extremely woke guy who wrote this in 2005. This was released in 2005.
On top of that, he's an English professor, so he really should know better. I
It's
was
all-
not kidding when I said purple prose hell.
Yeah, it's essentially it's essentially like he's saying that like all fantasy films have an element of hateful racism or sexism in them,
Yes, that is a.
and we need to
exactly
examine
what
them.
he's saying.
Yeah.
Everyone's just a little bit racist.
Oh no,
Yep.
no, Varoma, it's gonna be great. It's not
Oh,
gonna be
how
bad.
bad?
It's gonna be great.
Yeah. So, it's for reference. It took us 3 hours to get through 10 pages.
Yes.
No.
You could hear when his soul died.
Oh no.
Oh yes.
Hold on to
Yeah.
your butts.
Yeah. I think Shiny was like constantly what?
What?
Uh-huh. He was. He was
Mhm.
indeed.
The ritualistic murder of King Kong. Yeah.
All right, pull this sucker up.
Alrighty. So, fantasy film then provides a particularly potent and cogent argument against enshrining the author and thereby ignoring the complex dynamic interaction between works of art and their social cultural history.
What?
I've already turned off my brain. What did you just say?
Yeah, this is basically what the entire book is. Purple prose hell.
Basically, it's saying that fantasy film is providing the argument that you should ignore the connection between art and the culture that was released in.
Is there one?
Or, you could just let escapist entertainment be escapist entertainment.
And
Goddamn
just
idiot.
and just not read into it unless there is stuff to read into it.
Yeah.
I mean, there are definitely some aspects of something that are like, oh, this is definitely a product of its time, or whatever
Yeah.
kind of thing. But
Like
at the
Jurassic
same-
like Jurassic Park, at least like in its tech, is
Yeah, you can date that movie simply by the tech they use, but the story it tells itself is timeless.
Yeah.
Same with Joker. Joker, like, you can pretty much put on Joker and like understand everything that's going on.
And Star Wars.
Same, yeah, Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, Lord of
I'm
the Rings
sorry,
as well.
no. I have to qualify that. Lucas era Star
We
Wars.
all know, Neff. You don't have to
Yeah.
go on a tangent
Yeah.
about this again.
Yeah, let's keep things rolling. I would like to get through the next 9 or so pages of the introduction.
oh, you're still in the intro. Okay.
Yeah, we are.
We
It's
literally made it
20
10 pages.
long.
Oh, I thought maybe the intro was 10 pages long, but I guess
No.
not.
No,
We're halfway there.
no, if we had just done the whole intro in one sitting, we would have been there for 6 hours probably.
Yes. Yes, we would have been there for 6 hours, and Shiny would have been a hostage the entire time.
Fun time.
You'd think Shiny would get tired of being people hostage.
Yeah.
Thank you, Wise Wolf.
You're friends with White Wolf on Discord?
Yep.
That's amazing.
Ooh.
Oh, he's excited. That's bad for us.
Oh no.
Or
Oh, no,
possibly the
it's-
thing I left in Discord.
Oh no, it's a good thing.
That's
No, it's-
getting worse.
No, it's this is cool.
Oh,
Ah!
nice.
Yeah.
Who would win, GHBD RR Core Gundam 2 or One Dunny Book?
Well, if the Gundam reads the book, he wins.
Yeah.
That'll work.
Yeah.
This is why I'm a doctor and you guys aren't.
Yep. Shall
Yeah,
we
I'm stupid enough to show here.
Shall we continue with this amazing piece of work?
Yeah,
No.
now you know why it's so hyperventilated, because mask ordinances and outdoor aerobics don't mix.
Yeah.
Alrighty. The first argument, the argument for the particularly broad range of potential meaning in fantasy film, is somewhat more demanding to address, in part because I have made the seemingly extravagant claim that racist discourse is not simply a factor in the fantasy of Kong, but is integral to it.
No, it's
And in
not.
part...
No. Kong is escapist.
Yeah.
Entertainment.
But all right, go on.
Go
Let
on.
me finish the sentence.
Okay.
Okay, and in part because in the terms of the critique, in particular the word meaning, are themselves in need of refinement.
Oh, good God.
The word meaning means refinement, yet he's been popping SAT pills all day.
This
Because
guy
everything
really
needs
needs an editor.
redefinition.
Well, it depends on what you mean by is. Who's old
Drake.
enough to remember that?
Drake. I think that you're missing something.
Stop bringing logic into a movie! Random, incoherent, juvenile shit happens, things explode, and people empty their wallets to see it!
That
Use out of a
worked.
lot of clips that I sent in.
Back when Nostalgia Critic was good. He had the yellow
This is
ball.
actually not Nostalgia Crit. This is a crossover Blockbuster Buster review.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Ugh.
So, like, it's basically like the word meaning is in need of refinement, and like,
What?
The
No.
word meaning is in need of refinement.
yeah. So it's like the terms of the critique, in particular the word meaning, are themselves in need of refinement.
Okay. Then let's go through this because I feel like it. We all know what it means, right?
Yes.
No.
So, okay. As noun, it's got 3.
Yeah.
What is intended to be, or actually is, expressed or indicated signification, import, the 3 meanings of a word. Duh. The end, purpose, or significance of something.
Mhm.
What is the meaning of life? What is the meaning of this intrusion? Linguistics. The non-linguistic cultural correlation, reference, or denotation of a linguistic form, expression. Linguistic content as opposed to expression. And then we've got the adjective, which is intentioned, usually in a combination. She's a well-meaning person, full of significance, expressive, a meaning look.
Mhm. Yeah.
How does that need to be redefined?
Refined, at least. Like, he's like the critique because, like, he's saying that racist discourse is integral to Kong and not just a factor of it.
No,
what
it's
he is
not.
saying.
And to prove his point, he's going to change the fundamental meaning of the word meaning.
Shall we? Let's continue. And so let me emphasize from the first that I find the argument for polysemy entirely valid, providing it too is not used as a means of reducing a critic's range of interpretation or of denying the validity of interpretation altogether. Though I will continue to reject characterizing Kong as a pure fantasy, I grant that even when it is seen within history, it can be interpreted in a great variety of ways, as a commentary on women's rights.
What?
Women's rights.
It is
What
a
the
woman's
hell?
right to be kidnapped by a gorilla.
Oh,
Yes, you have
okay.
that choice. Congratulations.
Maybe it's like women need to have more like rights in the workplace. It could also be you need to like it's meant to be a commentary on the fact that like women are like captured by men and they are left with very little options in terms of work.
Last time I checked, capturing women was illegal, so it's not as if rights are missing.
Mm-hmm. It could as satirical.
Nick Brown's latest comment.
Nice.
Kong was actually a girl.
Well, somebody assumed Kong's gender.
I thought Kong was male.
Mm-hmm.
It's Queen Kong to you.
Yep.
Drag Queen Kong.
Yep. It could also be a satirical take on Hollywood, a broadside against the merchandising of exotic goods and cultures, a cautionary tale of imperial hubris.
Keep going. This is funny.
Where's the film that's a cautionary tale against this asshat's hubris?
somewhere in the brain of an aspiring filmmaker that needs to be changed. A veiled biography of the film's grandiose producer/director Cooper, or even an attack on racism, though its portrayal of the smitten and stricken Kong through its portrayal of the smitten and stricken Kong.
Huh?
Wait, so
How is King Kong in love with her?
Well, smitten and stricken Kong. Yeah, I guess like it's even an attack. This apparently Kong could be read as an attack on racism, and this person is saying, "No, I will hold to this other. I will like preach my thing about Kong is secretly racist." And it's like
I think I understood that last part. It's because Kong is black, she was white, and they killed him because he was totally crushing on her. It's like, no, we can't have interracial things here.
Kong is the ultimate simp. Got it.
It was interspecies reviews before interspecies reviews was a thing.
And it was still sad when, Kong fell off the skyscraper and everything, and it was like, oh no, he's dead. This poor majestic beast is dead.
Mm-hmm.
Died of a broken heart. And, and about several D6s worth of fall damage.
Yep.
I get that joke.
Yep. Alrighty. If, moreover, one permits the film's audience even the slightest degree of responsibility for its cultural work, then it is plain that any one interpretation is necessarily conditional.
The audience is responsible for cultural work. What?
Okay, so let me translate word salad. If a audience has some degree of responsibility, then any one interpretation is just conditional on the person.
But that's stupid. The audience has a responsibility for nothing.
Yeah. It's very strange, but it's just like, honestly, like, film may affect some aspects of who you become, but more of that should be on your parents rather than the media you consume. At least that's my opinion.
Yeah. Video games make kids violent.
No,
Yeah.
they don't. They're stress relievers.
No, you're just a racist white man, Nev. That's what you are.
Well, I mean,
did you
tell
just
that
misgender Neff? Did you just did you just misgender Neff? For shame, Dr. Crow. For shame.
Did you just miss species, Dr. Crow?
Yeah, you're a Lord Commander. I don't have to listen to you because all awful.
Yeah.
I've been reading Wheel of Time. I know what the Children of the Light are like.
Yeah, they're dicks.
Like, there's no way around it. We're getting off topic. Let's get back. Stop talking about good books. We were talking about this one.
Okay. There is, of course, precedent for focusing on dominant social attitudes. As mass cultural productions consumed by millions, fantasy films might be expected to inscribe such attitudes, and conversely, dominant social attitudes are, by definition, broadly shared throughout the culture. And by the same token, the film's mass appeal makes them open to other audiences, other attitudes, other readings, even or especially readings that emphasize the liberatory rather than the repressive character of their social operations.
Good God, this purple prose is going to kill us all.
The repressive character of its what again?
Social operations.
Why does he keep using 3-syllable words?
Why does he keep using social?
The social operations of a movie.
You'll
He
find
was
this
doing
space
this
station
before,
is socially operational.
So essentially, it's this.
You keep using the word. I don't think it means what you think it means.
Yes.
Inconceivable.
Yep.
I mean, a lot of these progressive types, they just kind of speak in this language that everyone else, in their ilk, like, totally understands, but any normal person would be like, the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, basically, there are many interpretations of this movie, but mine is right. Yeah.
Yeah, if any of us had been writing that book, the introduction would probably have been maybe 5 pages long, if that.
Brevity is the soul of wit. I don't think there's any here.
Wait a minute.
No.
There are 60 pages of citations? This book has citations?
Oh, good God.
Okay, well, it's only 140 pages then.
Well,
No.
filmography, notes, works cited, and the index.
Well, we really need is a freaking glossary for half these goddamn terms.
Yeah, why do you think I have
Okay.
dictionary.com and thesaurus.com open?
Okay, I was incorrect. So it's like 40 pages for the filmography, notes, works cited, and index.
Okay.
So, yeah, we're gonna have some fun on a bun, baby.
I understood that reference.
Uh-huh.
Anyway.
All right. One might, of course, respond to this reservation by pointing out that it is merely a restatement of the inherent condition of film viewership. Films suggest many meanings. No viewer can account for them all. Hence, to focus on racist discourse in Kong is not to disclaim other meanings, but simply not to address them.
Oh, no. No, you're wrong. You are reading far, far into Kong, Mr.
Yes.
Professor of English, who should know better than to write word salad.
Yes.
This guy's under the impression that no possible meaning, no matter how tortured, can possibly be wrong, and therefore we have to stoop to the level of the dumbest critics in the universe.
Yeah,
and then
like
there's
Patrick.
the actual size of the text, because you showed us the text. It's tiny.
Yeah. And there's just like, it's usually like 2 to 3 paragraphs per page.
And all of them feel like they are run-on sentences. Ugh.
Yep.
And this is the introduction.
If the introduction is this bad, then the actual chapters have to be at least as bad as the introduction, if not worse.
Yep.
You can get to my conclusion if you throw the book hard enough.
Yeah.
Building, scaling, Christ.
Essentially,
It gets better. It gets fucking better. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, this book really is worthless space junk. But, we get content out of it.
yep,
Which is good
we
for
get it.
us.
Yeah, we are getting a lot of mileage out of this freaking awful book.
Yeah, just to think, if each chapter takes 6 hours to get through, then that gives us
72
2
hours, roughly?
Yeah.
3 days! 3 days of streaming.
Yes.
Yep. Alrighty.
So how did you come across this book again?
Saurian Cinema. So, Smud. So, we all covered a Jurassic Park video called those Saurian Cinema, Gender and Jurassic Park.
Okay.
I'm still looking forward to that.
And he read out of this book as a lot of the basis for his argument, but also kind of didn't really fully believe in the argument of the book. He was just citing it. And he said, like, he likes this book and likes this guy's take. And we just kept laughing at all of the quotes that he was pulling up from this frickin' book. Like, how he says, Nedry, the fat guy, dies at the kind of, it starts off with kind of a initially innocent, frilly creature, and then he ultimately meets his demise at the hands and mouth of a frilly creature turned abomination on top of a
Wait, the dinosaur was always going to kill him. Like,
yeah, on top of
what?
it's like
What?
Frilly dinosaur,
let me
dinosaur. I think that's the Deinonychus.
Oh, it was the
Deinonychus?
Dilophosaurus.
The Venom one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the one that
Dilophosaurus.
spits venom.
Let me actually like find that quote because I know exactly where to find it.
Okay.
Because like
Of
it's
course
pretty
you do.
bad. It's pretty bad.
Of course, you went looking for it.
Okay,
But
let me.
if he's going to talk about the dinosaurs, then he should use the dinosaurs' actual names.
So-
Not, oh, it's really innocent thing. No, it's not. It's a meat eater. Of course it's not innocent.
Okay. Okay, let me find it. Oh, dang. Okay. So here we have let me see.
Yeah,
Okay,
Occupation
so-
Army, you're right. If you're
I
doing an
accidentally derailed
analysis,
the
don't be
screen.
dependent on
So-
one source.
Yeah,
So,
exactly
okay.
as I said, Nick Brown. It was
So,
the Dilophosaurus.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Thank you.
okay, so this is what he says. In an enactment of the teenage boy's wet dream and worst fear, Nedry meets his end at the hands and mouth of a coy, frilly creature that turns into a terror in the front seat of a car parked on a ledge evocative of a 1950s era lover's lane.
What? Dilophosaurus is what?
And it's dead.
He's really saying coin. Oh God.
Lovers.
Oh. And we're still in the introduction. This book has yet to become retarded. If we're expecting that later.
You were not here for the last stream.
No, I was not. But still.
You need to watch the last stream.
Yeah, there's also like it's like what is it? Well, you didn't believe me. But yeah, it's like this is the level of interpretation that we're getting into here.
Yes.
Like it's Dilophosaurus, koi-furry creature that turns into is an enactment of a teenage boy's wet dream.
And nightmare. It's not a wet dream because it's not the wet dream he thinks it is. The wet dream is, oh my God, it's a dinosaur and it's alive. The nightmare is, oh God, it's a meat eater, it's about to eat me.
Ooh. Let me see.
A cold-blooded, venom-spitting, man-eating monstrosity and a cheerleader. They're the same thing.
Also, they've figured out that dinosaurs are not cold-blooded. They're warm-blooded creatures. So, yeah.
Yeah, science is ruining all our fun.
So basically what he's... So,
I need rum and coke, don't I?
Yes.
You might.
Yes,
you might,
do.
because this is really bad. This is one of the worst things I've ever read. And we haven't gotten to the bad bits yet.
Oh, let's just keep going.
Okay. Such a response, however, allows to pass unnoticed a critical problem in the term meaning. Allows, that is, one to revert to an idealized notion of meaning as something independent of the cultural, historical analysis or processes within which a film is generated, or to follow the lead of those scholars who stress a film's reception over its production, within which this film is successively viewed.
So why does he need to redefine the word meaning again? His stupid analysis remains just as stupid either way.
Yes.
Maybe it's the fact that he's saying, like, you should look at it in terms of its cultural context.
Meaning can imply that too. He doesn't need to redefine the word meaning. I don't understand why he feels the need to have to do that, except for his like latent Marxism.
Yeah.
And I already read out all the meanings of the word, so it's stupid. The meaning he wants to refine is already there.
But it's not his definition of the word. Therefore, it's incorrect.
Yeah, Neff very simply...
It gets better. It gets fucking better. Okay.
So, taken to its extreme, such a notion would mean that a film becomes involved in racist discourse or ceases to at the whim of its viewers and interpreters. An inverted mirror image of the argument for authorial intent, which holds that a film means only what its filmmakers put into it. This notion similarly permits a film to float outside its cultural matrix, acquiring meaning solely as a factor of what its audiences get out of it.
Kind of like this book.
Not even that.
Like how the Matrix is always a trans allegory.
It means what the author meant.
Oh.
Yeah.
Matrix is a trans allegory. I'm like, you're stretching it. I'm really sorry. You're stretching it.
Have you touched the sun yet? Or better yet, have you touched Jupiter?
I was thinking he's gonna reach Pluto by the end of this.
You'll be
If
able to
not the
read
orc
that
out
distance
loud.
and back.
So, how far has he reached yet? Has he gotten to Mars?
Probably Mars. Yeah, let's go with Mars.
I've issued a restraining order. You are not allowed within 3 planets. So get off ours.
Alrighty. As such, I would basically, like, what he just said in this is saying that like saying only authorial intent matters, and that only what the audience takes out of it is bad, and that we should take a look at it like the hyper interpretive reading. And he's going to bring in a very amusing word in the next sentence.
Oh,
As such, the term I would employ in preference to meaning is ideology.
Oh, okay. So you're just gonna come right out and say it.
Ideology?
An ideology can be in a meaning, dumbass.
Good God.
Yeah. Also, it's basically like it's a 55-year-old white dude talking about racism.
It's like, oh, sure, it can mean a lot of things, but it doesn't mean what I want it to mean. Does it belong along with my political beliefs?
Yeah.
Yeah. Though Kong is surely open to many meanings, as a cultural performance it is demonstrably involved in, shaped by and shaping pervasive cultural assumptions and ideological formations concerning race and race relations. I would say demonstrably that is false.
Yes. I call bullshit.
Yeah, nobody thinks, other than the really, really crazy ideologues, think that that Kong is like racist.
I was giving you a few good Oh, hey, yokai.
You know what?
Help us.
Freaking yokai.
Yeah. Which is
where they kept trying to claim Scar from Lion King was gay, and we learned he had a wife in the second movie. Not to mention 2 cubs.
Yeah.
Help us, yokai. SOS. Beep, 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 beep.
We will all shout to yokai, save us, and he will look back and answer,
It's bad, but it's like, okay, which is worse, Maggie Mae Fish or this?
That's an interesting contrast, because Maggie Mae Fish reads things into movies in order to like them. This guy reads things into movies in order to hate them.
Well, the problem is,
even
he
if
likes
both are completely
Jurassic
off
Park.
base.
I would say
Jurassic Park.
He claims he likes Jurassic Park, so he can crap on it.
Well, no, I don't think he likes Jurassic Park, but he loves King Kong. It's his favorite movie.
I would say rotting fish is worse.
Because she has the crazy eyes, and you have to hear her voice. This is just my actually, like, reasonably good voice reading out craziness.
Yeah, there's a dumb filter on this guy, so we can't really compare them fairly.
Yeah, if this was a video we were watching, I'd probably go, he's just as bad. Get him off the screen.
Your argumentation is bollocks. Remove it from my screen.
Yes.
Alrighty. Kong can undeniably and crucially be read in multiple ways, even non-racist ways. But as an ideological structure, as the totality of the elements affiliated with the culture that generated it, Kong incontrovertibly invites and incites the discourses, beliefs, and practices of racism characteristic of that culture.
Swap King Kong with The Force Awakens.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because
Finn is more of a racist character than Kong will ever be.
yes,
All
yes, he
three
is.
of them. Good
Yeah,
God.
because the Latina Eno guy is a drug dealer.
Oh yeah, that.
And Finn is a janitor. Ugh.
Yep. And he's the only black stormtrooper other than Janna that I could see. Like, I couldn't, like, pick out, like, all of the other, like, red shirt ex-stormtroopers that
I think they
on
were all
the-
minorities too. And so the implication is that all minorities are able to escape their brainwashing or something stupid like that.
Well, not many of them took their helmets off, so you could never really tell to begin with.
Yeah. And Phasma was a girl and white, so,
Rancor progressive.
Well, what about the Rancor progressiveness? Is attack on the Wookiees?
Yep. The black, yeah. The black is the janitor. The white female is a blank slate. And then you have the what is the Asian girl being a terrible driver.
Yeah,
being a
and
preachy terrible driver.
their explained universe makes the films even worse. But I don't think I agree with you on this, Wise Wolf. But by giving the characters better backstories, I would debate that.
I don't think that they got better backstories. I don't like, or at least like they had like actual good stuff. Like maybe they had better elements because the writers might be better than Rian Johnson. Honestly, that's not a hard. That's not a hard bar to match because like Ryan has a consistent set of problems in every single one of his works. He writes himself into corners and he uses Deus Ex Machinas or cheats to get himself out frequently.
Yep.
And also he often relies on his characters being stupid. That's not very hard.
Yeah, it's
that's comparing iron pyrite to crap.
Oh.
Yeah. Alrighty. This leads me in the form of two central assertions about Kong and its corresponding assertion about fantasy film on the whole, to propose a model of fantasy film's cultural work. First, Kong, irrespective of its creator's objectives and in concert with the many facets of its ideological operations, is a film that participates in the processes and practices of 1930s American racism. Kong provided viewers ideological operations.
Oh God!
He
He's
keeps
actually
postulating
using
this.
that word. That word does not mean what you think it means, sir. Ruin.
No, it doesn't.
Using the word. I don't think it means what you think it means.
Oh yeah, I do remember watching that movie now. That's where I get so many quotes.
Yeah, Princess Bride is a comedy quote factory.
Yep. Ruin Round Moon.
I can feel my brain leaking out my ears with every syllable.
Yeah, this book is really bad. You can see why I wanted to read this.
Yes.
And we're not even getting to the really funny part. I read a little bit of the funny part where it's like the hand of a coy, frilly creature that turned into a terror in the backseat of a car in a 1950s era style lovers lane.
Also, for the record, the Deinonychus was not in the car with the guy. The guy had to get out of his car.
It was waiting there for him.
It's snuck in the car later. It's like, oh, hi, what's up? And then it's like, wait, how'd you get in here? Oh, God, I'm dying.
Oh, yeah, I got in there when you killed him.
Well, social operations, like, he's saying ideological operations, like how it operates ideologically.
Which is even dumber.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, which is worse.
Okay. Oh, it's getting better. Oh, it's getting better.
No, brace yourselves.
Kong provided viewers for whom images of dark-skinned men as libidinous brutes were historically entrenched and incessantly reinforced, not least by film, ammunition by which these convictions could be renewed, enhanced, redoubled.
Kong was furred!
He's a giant monkey.
Not a monkey, he's a gorilla. His name.
Most of his skin was obscured anyway, except for like his face, hands, and feet.
He eats people.
Also, it's a black and white film. There is no color.
Yeah.
It's ambiguously black and white.
Yeah, I guess so.
The bull in the harness was torn apart and there was no blood. That wasn't a bull, that was a goat. But yes.
Also the cow.
Yes,
Yeah, there was
the
cow
cow.
too.
That was a cow in the raptor thing.
Mm-hmm.
Turning into 12-foot.
Don't kill yourself. Maybe create a situation where this man can die via Darwin Award.
Yes. And what do you think? Has he been given enough rope to use to hang himself yet?
Oh,
I'm wondering if he has enough bridge to hang himself. 12-foot rope, 10-foot bridge.
I was thinking mile-long bridge. Like, we're only in, like, page 12.
Oh, good God. We're 2 pages in, and it's still... We've been at this for
6 minutes.
7 minutes, and we're only 2 pages in.
Yep. Yep. And second, since no viewer of Kong within its American context then or now is exempt from the culture's racist ideologies, then love of Kong cannot be divorced from the processes of racism active within the society that produced it. Viewers of this film in its time and today are both heirs to its racial fantasies and vehicles for reproducing those fantasies as if they were real.
Good God, trying to interpret his word salad is making my brain hurt.
I'm much more interested in trying to tell a wise wolf that inches is the double quote and foot is the single quote. Anyway.
Yep.
So.
I gotta get ready for my thing, so
okay.
I'll see you guys later. Thank you for having me.
Oh, yeah, of course. See you later. Later, Hex.
Later, Hex.
Bye. He escaped. He did it when nobody else could.
Yeah. All right. Breaking open my 7-Up. I need my drink to keep my voice.
Oh no, decaf! You're gonna pass out.
Alrighty. Basically, what this man is saying that the culture in turn, the culture was racist, and Kong is influenced by said racism, and you can't really divorce the love of Kong from that.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can, because it's not a thing. You made it up.
You are.
Put it there.
Yeah, weirdly enough, School of Movies actually has the same opinion.
You made it up.
Or modern culture is racist. Knives Out is a product of a modern culture. Therefore,
yep, the immigrant kicks the white people out of their home.
Continue.
No, wise wolf. I'm not letting Drake lend you a knife.
Plus, mine are all like an inch long because they're X-Acto knives. I don't think you get very far with that.
Yeah.
If I If I press and hold the A button, does the text go by faster?
I wish.
For a principal function of fantasy film is dominant social practice, I will argue, is the genre's role in rendering real, or as if real, propositions that in other contexts, say political, educational, or religious discourse, are normally only hinted at, explained away as jokes, or dismissed as preposterous. Such as the proposition, black men are lustful apes.
Can you even read this on YouTube?
What?
Can you even read this on YouTube without getting killed?
Well, thing is, like he's saying, dismissed as rendering real propositions such like. This book is really bad. Or other subjects other chapters will take up. The poor seek to supplant the rich.
Well, that's actually true. We're seeing that now.
Yeah, that's very true. Foreigners are mysterious and treacherous. That's not entirely untrue. 9/11, cough, cough. Or
oh no, COVID.
Yeah. Or, oh, this one's great. Unwed mothers are deadly predators.
How the hell do you get? How do you get
that?
My mother's a deadly predator.
Yep. And based on like that little quote that I gave you, that is not what he is. That is totally what he is going to be arguing. That is one of the theses behind Jurassic Park.
Unwed mothers are deadly predators, and this comes from Kong?
No, Jurassic Park. It's basically like all of the other. So it's basically like other chapters are gonna. So first he's talking about black men are portrayed as lustful apes in that particular reading of King Kong. The poor seek to supplant the rich, being the thesis of Wizard of Oz. Foreigners are mysterious and treacherous, being the Sinbad thing. Unwed mothers are deadly predators, in terms of Jurassic Park. The mentally ill are violent criminals, 12 Monkeys and Cell. And the physically different must be banished from the norm, Lord of the Rings.
Okay, what was the Sinbad one?
Foreigners are mysterious and treacherous.
Yeah, funny thing, Sinbad comes from 1001 Arabian Nights. Everyone is an Arab in that story. Literally everybody is a foreigner in that story if the story moves. Or if the reader moves.
So, it's the Sinbad, Ray Harryhausen Sinbad trilogy. That's what he's referring to.
Yeah, this guy is delusional.
Thine ord is Kelmandi. Gore Barnett graded. Do you love your mother and her two-hit multi-dimensional attack?
Kong climbs the Empire State Building. That is a metaphor for a woman's journey up a penis. I said it. It's a valid interpretation, bitch.
And honestly, this guy, if he's being forced to hold to
birth control.
Honestly, if he's being
ritual birth control.
You see, we're having fun. Aren't you happy you came on?
No.
We are. We're very happy you came on.
Yeah. Okay. That such propositions are regularly articulated in more or less these terms. by the least tolerant segments of society proves that they are not, in reality, fantastic in the sense of unthinkable, that incautious politicians, preachers, and people on the street periodically give vent to sentiments dangerously close to the above indicates that they are not confined to the lunatic fringe.
Wait. Did they just say bent?
Give vent, yes.
Oh my god.
The ideas are not confined to the lunatic fringe. The lunatic fringe. What the hell?
It's as if he doesn't think he's a part of that fringe lunacy.
This book is a meme factory. There's so much terrible things in this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think that when I'm done, I need to redo this and just like say, hey, these are the worst quotes. If anybody wants to make a meme, do it, please.
Yes. Please do it. Please,
Yep.
please.
Yep. But even more important than these extreme manifestations, the fact that politically liberal, well-educated people like myself can profess.
Oh God. Well educated, yeah.
Well-educated.
Right, Mr.
Sure.
English teacher. Right.
Not only can he reach to the stars, he can stretch his neck so far he can suck his own dick.
You smell that? That's the scent of your own fart.
It's okay. And that's definitely the pot calling the kettle black.
Yeah. It's so dense.
dense. Every single page has so many potential memes.
Everything. Yep, bias detected. Yep.
Yup.
Alrighty. Alright. Yep. Like myself, can liberal, well-educated people like myself can profess to love a movie despite their recognition of the violent racist strategies it performs, the ugly racial emotions it stirs, and the hateful racist energies it receives from them in turn, suggests that fantasy films play a more fundamental part in the construction, dissemination, and maintenance of prejudice than is commonly admitted.
Yeah, oh God, the ego of this person.
Than is commonly admitted. He thinks he's so high up there.
He thinks he's intelligent. Only a fool thinks they're smart.
Mm-hmm.
Only a fool thinks themselves wise.
Yeah.
The wise can always learn.
Mm-hmm.
The first step to knowing everything is admitting that you know nothing.
Yes.
Yep. And it's basically like saying like this, that we can love a movie, but it espouses a lot of hateful stuff. But it's like, you haven't proven this yet, or at least like he hasn't attempted to prove it yet, which that's going to be hilarious.
Yeah. If it's already this funny, then yeah, it's just going to get better.
Give us a reason to laugh.
Yep.
Oh my God.
Precisely because fantasy films can activate audience prejudices while preventing audiences from recognizing or, more precisely, taking responsibility for such prejudices. They are ideal agents.
Fuck off.
They are ideal agents of social alienation. Their seeming purity permits their pollution.
This guy is starting to sound like one of my history teachers back when I was in college.
Essentially what he is saying is that whether audiences know it or not, they're being subliminally influenced to be racist by King Kong. And yet he likes the movie. That's what he is saying.
Yeah, it's like
he's a racist
this is
himself.
They Live logic. It's like he's Roddy Piper and They Live, and he's wearing sunglasses that'll let him see everything as racist.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if this is his interpretation, then this says a lot more about him than it says about the rest of us.
He's here to chew bubblegum and talk out of his ass. And he's all out of bubblegum.
Kind of like how I am so sorry that you are being portrayed as that the orcs are being portrayed like you, random black person.
Yeah, that meme. Oh god.
Yep. Basically, because they are purity, seemingly timeless, they have a more culture. They have a more cultural impact and have long-reaching. It's that stupid thing of what is a School of Movies about special blood and how the Empire Strikes Back started a special blood and lineage fascination in the fandom.
No, it didn't.
Yeah, or at least he's saying you can love a film while understanding its troubling influence. Is basically
what troubling influence?
Yeah, it's basically because you remember? Do you remember? Well, that video is so bad.
Yeah.
But basically, what he's saying is that it's because we are not all of special blood, and we shouldn't want our heroes to have special blood.
No, that's not how it works.
Why not?
Because if you're not special, then why are we following you?
Yeah.
That's the question.
He just wants the Force to kind of come from nowhere, which it did. He's just ignoring it. He's saying, because Anakin was a prophesized chosen one, that the import of, and then...
No, that made Anakin important, but that didn't make Luke important. What made Luke important was that Anakin was a Jedi. That's all.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And it's
So
basically kind of that. It's that special blood thing. It's special blood is not inherently bad. You have to do it carefully. It can come off as a crutch that the author or writer can use.
And then you go in the complete opposite direction, which is what Ruined Round Moon did, and say, "Oh, Rey comes from absolutely nothing."
And then
it becomes a question of, then why are we following Rey and not someone else?
And then J.J. Abrams decided to pee all over Ryan.
Yes.
She's a Palpatine.
Yeah.
She is the granddaughter of the most powerful Force user in the whole galaxy.
Not only that, but she was the granddaughter of the most powerful Sith ever known. Not Jedi, Sith.
Yeah, completing the Mary Sue checklist.
It was complete when she died and was resurrected. It doesn't happen to the end of the movie, but it happens.
Yeah.
I am all the Jedi.
I think everyone would have forgiven her for being a Mary Sue if she'd stayed dead.
Palpatine wins. He wanted to die.
Yeah, basically.
So technically, since Rey killed him, is Palpatine technically a transgender now?
Kinslayer.
Yeah, maybe Palpatine's actually still inside Rey. Maybe he won after all.
My name is Rey. Revenge of the Sith. Oh, stop!
The entering my granddaughter sounds so terrible now.
Oh my god, yes. I think I threw up in my mouth a little bit.
Thank you, JJ. We're finding more things to hate about your movie aside from your disgusting fetishes.
There's a reason why we call him Creamy Sheev.
Yep.
Yes.
Alrighty. To refine my earlier definition of the word frame, then what fantasy films do is not simply construct a certain way of looking. Rather, they provide a way of looking that is both negative and unfairly so. The process of framing monsters, in other words, is a process one might broadly define as stigmatizing or scapegoating, a process whereby individuals or groups who lack an adequate means of self-representation or access to political power are made to bear disproportionate responsibility for social anxieties and ills and are therefore seen as justifiably robbed of human rights for the ostensible good of the whole or of the norm.
What country is he in? Who lacks the same representation as anybody else? Everybody's got a vote.
You would think that he was Russian with how word salady this is. Ugh.
Yeah, but he's from Philly.
He brings
I'm
shame
tempted to say
upon
that kind of
Philly's
explains it.
Yeah.
For shame! For shame! You are an American! Speak the way we speak, you idiot!
Yeah. Well, it's like it is. What he's saying, like here, is not wholly inaccurate. Like a lot of times, people are. He's writing this in the 2005 when, like, it was relatively good for representation in terms of like political discourse. Like, people can write. Like, well, people could, and now like things have gotten better since then. They've gotten worse in other ways, but.
People can try, but that's about it.
Yeah. In short, what this study contends is that by granting the form and force of the unimaginable to deeply rooted yet largely unarticulated cultural belief, fantasy films strive to focus, quicken, and vindicate energies of contempt, suspicion, rage, and violence against the vulnerable and disempowered. Okay.
Wait,
no.
what?
What?
Okay,
God damn, you idiot.
Basically, he's saying that fantasy films exacerbate violence, suspicion, contempt, and rage against vulnerable and disempowered people by the way they film monsters.
No! Sometimes monsters are just monsters. Seriously, monsters are just monsters.
I scam dig og dine sucker.
Alright. Let me continue. What this study seeks to achieve accordingly is to reconnect fantasy films, their cultural contexts, to read them in light of specific historical, cultural ideologies, and thereby to demonstrate the ways in which these films validate specific discourses and policies of exclusion, inequality, and victimization.
Oh my god. Of course he would use the word victimization.
Mm-hmm.
He's one of those people. God.
Bear in mind, this is 2005. This is pre-culture, like the online culture war time period.
If this wasn't blatant foreshadowing into what was about to happen to us, I don't know what is.
Yep. What? Crow? You had something to say?
In Hajar in that Katarful.
This man has killed words.
It's killed word. I can
Something
only shout
like
insults at him in Danish. It's all I can do.
I'll be right back.
Yep. Okay. So, thoughts?
There is none in this book. There is not a thought in this book.
There's not a rational thought in this book.
There's not an irrational thought in this book. It's just absolute insanity. It's the blibbering madness of it's the blibbering craziness of a madman.
So basically this.
At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought?
Okay, sorry about that.
No
I
problem.
didn't miss anything, did I?
No, just me doing you in your rambling, incoherent response. Were you even close to a rational thought?
Oh, good God.
Everybody in this room is dumber for having to listen to what you just said.
Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
Yeah, because we certainly won't have any mercy in mocking you.
Yeah, because what you're saying is dumb and wrong, and it's wrong in a way that we can, we just laugh because it's so utterly ridiculous. This man is, I think this man is just a closet racist that he thinks this way.
Yeah, as I said before, this book says more about him and his thought process than it says about us.
Mm-hmm.
So, these old films were in a racist time period. Therefore, I'm not even going to bother even justifying that, because if there is even the 1% chance that this movie could be racist, we must take it as an absolute certainty.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. Also, I would like to hear him cite his sources on, if this actually increased black violence.
Yes. Please show us why you think this, sir. Please.
It increased black violence. You can't see the air quotes, actually. From one black to another.
Mm-hmm. Well, it is a black and white film. Mm-hmm. Okay. Before turning to the films and issues, I plan to open to such an analysis. Let me take a moment to address what seem to me two important conceptual issues pertain to the choices of the film themselves. The first of these
two.
This man needs to be fired.
Yeah, I would agree. The first of these concerns concerns the scope of my definition of what constitutes a fantasy film. Okay, so he's defining his terms. That's good.
Yay.
Readers who scan the filmography may object that some of the films I discuss belong not to the fantasy genre, but to related genres such as science fiction, horror, or fairy tale. To explain
I would put fairy tale under fantasy.
Well,
fairy tale is fantasy.
Like Disney.
Yes,
I think that fairy
maybe.
Yeah. Well, he's... And so, yeah.
Yes, wise wolf. Yes.
Fired by a firing blade.
And only a Sith deals in absolutes. Yep.
Only a Sith would deal in such absolutes, I think would be a better way of saying that.
Yes.
Since that would make sense. That it's you're with me or you're against me. He's saying, only a Sith would deal in that kind of absolute.
Yep.
I think that would have been slightly better line, but it's overall, I'm okay with the sentiment.
Yeah, we know what he was trying to convey.
Particularly, yeah, as opposed to hope is like the sun, or
it gives you a horrible burn.
Yeah, it gives you cancer. Yeah, hope gives you. So basically, what you're saying, Holdo, is that hope is cancerous, just like you.
Hope is like the sun. It's way easier for black people to put up with.
Yeah, or ambiguously brown people, or ambiguously brown women, like how David Benioff likes them. I hate that man. We need to do more Dragon Demands videos.
Yeah, but let's finish what we start.
Yep. To explain my decision to bring such a diverse group of films under the heading of fantasy, it is insufficient to plead that it is the only title that can accommodate so large a range of films. At issue, rather, is whether the fantasy serves as a productive rubric under which to classify these films. or to state in this another way whether the existence, appearance, or interrelation of these diverse films indeed call for a genre, one that I will term fantasy, under which all should be grouped.
It's called speculative fiction. People know this term. People knew this term. People use this term and have been using it for a very long time. Why does the one time he decides not to use the technical terminology is so that he can make up the meaning of words?
I actually like that. That's actually good. Well done, Nick Brown.
Yeah. So my friend is truly gone. I will do what I must.
That's actually really good. That would be cool.
Yeah,
Alrighty.
that would have been a good one.
Mm-hmm. To begin this answer, I would first note that the definition of fantasy has proved, so to speak, tenaciously elusive, though countless forays into defining the genre have been attempted, though all agree that fantasy is that which bears some capricious relationship to reality. Little argument exists as to what precisely that relationship was. Okay, fantasy author. Okay, alrighty, Mr. Bellin. There's an easy way to classify fantasy. You complete and utter sodding wanker. Okay, there are multiple subsections, but usually it involves some element of magic, not high tech. Though Artemis Fowl does have high tech and magic, so it's kind of sci-fantasy, I suppose, but it's on Earth, and most of the tech is made with magic, so okay. And then there's gunpowder fantasy, where it's like separate world, but it has gunpowder, usually flintlocks or some kind. There's like 100.
Muskets.
There's like muskets. Yeah. There's like 15 or so subgenres. Daniel Green did a whole video about each one, like political thriller fantasy, dark fantasy, horror fantasy. Like fantasy is usually just some element of the fantastical. Science fiction is usually related to the future or an alien time and place where space and spaceships are relevant.
Where space travel is cheap.
Yeah.
Because everyone does it.
Yeah.
Or even just viable.
Yeah, you fucking moron.
Yeah, this guy is an idiot. Yeah. So it's like, all right. Let's keep going. Okay. Thus, he's going to get into defining his terms. Oh, this is going to be painful.
Oh no.
Thus, among the most influential definitions of the genre that have been offered in the past 30 years, Rosemary Jackson sees films as that which subverts the status quo. No. Flat no. I'm not even going to justify that. Eric Rabkin understands fantasy as that which violates its own internal rules.
No!
What?
No. Fantasy,
Oh.
it does not. Oh. No! The thing about a world that you build, it doesn't have to be fantasy, it doesn't have to be sci-fi or anything else, but when you build a world, you have to make rules and then you have to freaking follow them!
Yeah, so this is what I say to that.
No!
Also this.
Too dumb to live.
Yes. Just.
How dumb do you have to be to get killed by Sean Bean?
I think I've got the ammo somewhere. Wise Wolf, wait for me.
Yeah.
Don't worry, nobody has ammo.
Let's. Okay.
He said that fantasy doesn't have to follow rules. Why?
No, that's how. Oh,
how that works.
Okay.
Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings was written by the time of this. I think. I don't know. Maybe okay. Maybe benefit of the doubt. maybe this came out before Lord of the Rings reinvented the genre.
You mean Fellowship?
No, like Lord of the Rings, the book series.
The book series has been around since like the 50s at least.
Maybe this person, Eric Rabkin. Let me look up Mr. Eric Rabkin so we're not castigating him unfairly.
No, Wise Wolf, no. It's so we
Okay.
can get him and participate in the firing line.
Sod off! Sod off!
What'd you find?
He was born in 1946.
Oh, you gotta be kidding me.
Who was?
Eric S. Rabkin. And The Fantastic in Literature, I think, which is the book that he is using, was written in 1976, at least 40 years after Lord of the Rings.
It's a fools.
Eat bantha crap. Okay. All right.
Let me go find a wampa so we can feed him to it.
No, my thought is like we go to a stable, liquidize the horse crap, shove a filter into his mouth, and dump crap into his mouth.
Yes, okay.
Okay.
Gastavoletata.
Yes, Crow.
Sizvatin Todorov views fantasy as that which engenders a momentary hesitation concerning whether an inexplicable event is real or not.
Oh no. Okay, so I'm a fanfic writer, so I don't have to follow the rules of the universes that I write in if I don't want to. But I can prove that my writing is really good by keeping the characters and the lore the same and putting them in situations that they never actually could have been put in canon. So I'm sorry, but no, you do not break the rules of the universe you're writing in.
Or like a momentary so it's basically like views fantasy, momentary hesitation concerning whether an inexplicable event is real or not.
Yep.
Like
Lord of the Rings came out in 1954.
Well after this guy has likely made his comments. Well before, I mean.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, Brian Atterbury regards fantasy as that which contravenes what the author considers natural law.
Natural law can mean very different things.
Okay, Okay, sir. Define that term for us, please.
Mm-hmm. No, he doesn't. And it continues. And Catherine Hume. We got Hume here. We got Hume here.
Oh God, no.
In the most expansive of modern definitions, conceives of fantasy as any departure from consensus reality. Thank you! Finally, an intelligent thing is said.
Took forever to get there.
Yeah. It's
God
taken
damn.
it's taken us 4.5 hours to get to anything resembling a rational thought.
Goddamn word salad.
Yep. One reason for the diversity of definitions, as Atterbury pointed out in Fantasy Tradition 3, may be that all are circular, dependent on what counts as fantasy for each critic.
Wait, what? Say that again?
So basically the definitions of fantasy are subjective.
No! Fantasy has a concrete definition. It's not subjective, you idiot.
Fantasy as a genre has a pretty clear definition in subgenres.
Mm-hmm.
However, fantasy as in the word has various definitions. Like, you fantasize about something. you have a fantasy of this, or stuff like that. But it's usually just something like out of the ordinary or unreal. So, Rapkin's thesis, for instance, works best with nonsense texts, like Lewis Carroll's Alice in Wonderland, while Todorov's may pertain to the tiny sample of texts he discusses, such as Henry James's Turn of the Shrew. Given this perplexity, some critics have argued that fantasy is beyond definition. No, it is.
No, it's not.
Given this perplexity, some critics have argued that fantasy is beyond definition. Others, such as Richard Matthews, have suggested that the problem lies in the definition of genre, not of fantasy. I could agree with that. There are no pure genres, and fantasy is no exception. I would actually agree with that. Whatever the case, fantasy remains a fugitive genre, though few people older than 10 have difficulty identifying a work as a fantasy. The genre itself is proved far more amorphous, and its study far more arduous than such commonplace classifications would apply. That's okay. So
they really would tell
genre. What the hell? What does that even mean?
Why would you want to stick to regular urban fiction? Why?
I don't know what's happening anymore.
Let's see. I remember my college writing classes having teachers explicitly tell us not to write fantasy or sci-fi and stick to regular urban fiction. Stuff that don't necessarily happen, but it's real and grounded enough that it can be. Hard to tell if it's nonfiction or not. Yeah, no. Why? I don't think I ever touch urban fiction.
I've done it a couple times.
I remember doing that in high school at one point.
Yeah, most of this stuff was
I remember my English teachers specifically telling me that nobody likes to read fantasy. You should write urban stuff, and it's like, what? That doesn't make sense.
Brandon Sanderson says "screw you" and gives you the Mormon finger.
Yeah, screw you. And I will write what I want to write. And if there happens to be a group of people who want to read what I'm writing, then shut up. Just let me do what I want.
George R. R. Martin and Robert Jordan Robert Jordan's turning over in his grave repeatedly, and George R. R. Martin is like, calmly screw you. Like he has actually said screw you when people ask about his health. They're asked there are a lot of people that are kind of concerned that you might not finish the book, and he's like, calmly screw you, and in the interview he just gives the finger and just says screw you.
Does he literally give the finger, or
yes, literally? No, literally.
Wow.
Yep. In the case of fantasy film, the picture blurs even further. Indeed, it might be better to say that there have been a few attempts to bring that picture into focus at all. If literary scholars have labored to pinpoint the characteristics of the fantasy genre, film scholars have generally been content to study the cousin genres of horror and science fiction.
Cousin genres?
Well, you could have you can have fantasy be similar to horror stuff.
College professor of that.
The cousin
also
genre of anime.
Shoved us really dark, depressing stories to read.
Prime Numbers, Julius Winstone, Thousand Splendid Suns. I've never heard of these books. Literally, most of my classes have been history classes. So.
Yeah, and they're all dark, depressing stories. So, no, thank you. No.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah, I want happy stories right now, please.
If you want to come on.
Ah.
Our new victim.
Please.
Why would you do this to yourself?
Yeah, one moment.
It's back on the menu, Don.
Let me send you the link.
The guy who's writing this book is an idiot.
Yeah, he is. Oh, good lord. And that's one of the reasons, actually, that I refuse to read Worm and the other stuff like that, because that's grim dark on the point of being dark. There's no hope anywhere.
Yeah. All right. Alrighty. Yeah. If sorry, I wish I could have made something. Oh, okay. Alrighty, Wise Wolf. I will see you soon.
Bye, Wise Wolf. You have
Bye,
made a
Wise
smart
Wolf.
decision.
But you're stuck in here with me.
So, did you send?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
Okay,
She should be.
cool.
I wish I had an intro for her, but we'll have to make do with what we have.
Yeah.
Yeah. Alrighty. Until then, this may reflect the differing histories of the two media, where literary fantasy claims eons old and globally far-flung examples, fantasy film settled quickly into and arguably developed from the popular categories of science fiction and horror. I would disagree with that.
Wish I could stay here in these brain cells with you guys.
Yeah.
No, you don't.
Yeah, honestly, it's just like science. I guess you could say that like, there are some elements of like science fiction and fantasy being in there, but I just like being mixed because like you have like you could argue that a fantasy planet, a fantasy world is just another planet elsewhere in the galaxy or like the universe. Like that's kind of what Brandon Sanderson does, where each of his fantasy books is on a different planet within the same galaxy.
Great big universe, and we're all really puny. Just a tiny little speck about the size of Mickey Rooney.
Yep, and each of the planets has a different magic system and a god that is associated with it. That was originally like there was this great power called Adonalasilum, and a bunch of people shattered that power and took it for themselves, and each one is like an aspect of God. Like Odium is a guy named Odium is God's divine hatred. Then you have preservation, devotion, domination, ruin, preservation, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So one for Ryan Johnson?
I guess so.
You said ruin.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, someone in the chat called him Ruined Round Moon. I think I like Roundhead better, but Round Moon is good too.
Alrighty. Woolly Pup is just choosing the avatar. So,
okay.
Ryan Johnson just has such a kickable head.
Yeah.
I could play soccer with it all day.
Yeah. Alrighty. Yet. We'll be. Let me see. What's
Hello, Wolvie.
Welcome to hell.
One wolf out, one wolf in.
But you guys can hear me okay?
Yes. Yep,
Okay.
you can.
You're a little low.
Yeah.
Scream, for the torture has just begun.
Crow would be nice.
I am nice. I am warning her. Run. Run while you still can.
No, I've been wanting to join for a while, but I had to finish dishes. You know how that goes.
Alrighty. It's totally cool. Let's
Oh,
continue.
great.
Let's continue reading.
Do we have to?
Yes, we do.
Yes.
We need to at least. We're only like at page 14. We're nearly finished with page 14.
Oh, good. Good. Thank God.
Uh-huh. Here we go. And yet, if anything, this history makes the generic issue more rather than less. That's a weird. Okay, if anything, this history makes the generic issue more rather than and less slippery. What is he trying to say?
I don't know.
Oh,
That's
no.
weird. If there are scant, pure examples of fantasy film or none, then the genre, such as it is, may in fact embrace films from a host of affiliated genres. Okay, that sentence meant nothing. For if that is, one could demonstrate that genres closest to fantasy are not in fact distinct from it, then one could aim the fantasy genre as an umbrella of all. Okay. And indeed, I would believe that such an overlap among putatively distinct film genres not only can be demonstrated, but must be demonstrated. That the attempt to separate fantasy from other genres breeds enormous, stymieing, and unproductive difficulties. We are not arguing this. This person is like, there are at least 15 or so fantasy subgenres, possibly 20. There's so much. Like, there's like Christian fantasy. There's gunpowder fantasy, epic fantasy, which is urban fantasy. You have vampire fantasy. You have erotic fantasy. You have
high fantasy, low fantasy.
They're more kinds of
political
fantasy than punk.
Yeah.
Punk fantasy.
Steampunk steampunk fantasy, sci-fi fantasy, quest fantasy, dragon fantasy, horror fantasy,
gothic fantasy.
Punk bang fantasy.
Oh, sorry, Wolvie?
Oh, I said I thought of punk band fantasy when you said that.
Somebody
And
make that a genre. Somebody make that a genre.
Please.
Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
But it's not final.
Final Fantasy 2.
Yep. Okay. To support this claim, let me consider the ostensible divide between fantasy and science fiction, the two genres that have most routinely, but not to mention resolutely, differentiated by scholars. For the majority of critics, the distinction between the two rests on the degree of relationship each bears to the real. Okay, I would agree with that. Thus, for example, Jack Rawlins contends that there are only two kinds of things, two ends of a spectrum, perhaps. One end looks at the fictive landscape. What?
Fictive?
And
should it be fictitious?
Should be, I think. Fictive landscape, and encourages us to examine it rationally as literal object. The other looks at the same scene and encourages us to relate to it emotively as a manifestation of our inner selves. I hesitate to offer names for these alternative orientations, but if pressed to say, I would say that science fiction and fantasy are reasonably good labels.
Okay, so I went to look that up. And so it's fictitious, imaginary, and pertaining to the creation of fiction. So I don't think that word means what he thinks it means.
He should have just used the word fictional.
Yeah.
Fictional. It's
You keep using that word. I don't think it means what you think it means.
Exactly.
Fictional characters. Is this getting through to you at all?
Fictive. What the thick.
Yeah.
Any thoughts, Wolvie?
So I find that it's hard to tell what he's even talking about.
Welcome to the stream.
Yeah.
So who
Purple
is this
Prose
guy?
Hell.
Congratulations, you're right there along with the rest of us.
Is there a way that like you could like turn your mic up, since I can't really hear you very well?
Let me see. Sometimes my computer is really annoying, and something that should take 1 second takes like 2 minutes, and I'm like, ugh.
Oh. Alright, you sound a lot better now.
Yeah, that's.
I didn't even do anything.
You got closer to your mic, probably.
I just right-clicked the microphone.
That works. Alrighty. Let's try to shotgun this. We want to get done with this before the 3-hour mark. Thankfully, page 20 is like a tenth of the page, so we got this. Less circumspect, Barry Keith Grant asserts that while science fiction works to entertain alternative possibilities, the distinctive aim of fantasy is to present alternative impossibilities. I would agree with that. It's not stupid. It's not blatantly stupid like most of the rest of the stuff. He's actually getting less and less stupid as time goes on.
Yeah, give us a moment.
Yeah. Let's wait till he gets to the really stupid stuff. Like he actually gets to his interpretations. Similarly, Carl Kraber argues that fantasy, unlike science fiction, bears no relation to the quotidian world.
So what?
Quotidian world.
Spell, please.
Quotidian.
Everyday commonplace. Quotidian.
Spell that again?
Quotidian.
IDIAM?
Quotidian. Quotidian. IN.
Okay.
Yeah.
Recurring daily, used especially of attacks of malaria.
So, what separates fantasy is basically that fantasy is not malaria-ridden? Is that what this is arguing?
Actually, fantasy is very malaria-ridden because they don't have vaccines yet.
Oh no, they don't. Yeah, that's honestly though disease doesn't often play a role in fantasy other than George R. R. Martin, at least that I've seen.
Or Nurgle.
Of a fever ague characterized by paroxysms that recur daily.
Paroxysms that occur daily?
Uh-huh.
Sounds like cleaner. So I think when you're writing these things, you should at least have them, like the people reading, have a general understanding what you're talking about. If you're talking to just the higher IQ, at least you think.
Yeah, this word salad. He uses these obscure words to make himself sound smart, but all he's doing is making himself sound stupid.
Yep.
I am so smart. I am so smart. SMRT. I mean SMART.
Yeah.
That's another clip to find.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So much wrong with everything that this person says.
Yeah.
I can't.
Right now he's quoting from other people, so.
He can't help but feel like he's taking these quotes out of context.
I get
yeah,
the feeling too.
I agree. It's definitely out of context.
Mm-hmm. So, quotidian world fantasy intrudes into a culture where it is quite unneeded, while science fiction engages in the realistic, rationalistic, expository, a forms characteristic of modern society. No, fantasy is just something of like either a different world or a world fantasy world coexisting with ours. Sometimes there are, like in the form of Narnia and Alice in Wonderland, people go in. Sometimes it's in the case of
Harry Potter.
Or the Harry Potter, yeah, or the Spider King Chronicles, where fantasy intrudes into real life, and then fantasy has to be pulled back out. Okay. And Atterbury concludes any narrative that includes as a significant part of its makeup some violation of what the author clearly believes to be natural law, that is fantasy. No!
What?
What did he say that made you say that?
Yeah, what was that definition?
Okay. Fantasy is some violation of what the author believes to be natural law. That is fantasy.
No.
No.
Again, natural law can mean different things.
Yeah, natural law is what you want it to be when using it in a story.
Yeah.
Natural law does not mean the laws of physics and the laws of nature as we know them. You have to define them.
Yeah, fantasy still has some rules. Fantasy, like, you still have gravity, for example.
Mm-hmm.
You still have
the gravity might be different, but you still got it.
Yeah. You have, like, in George R. R. Martin, he said flat out that the planet that because he just wanted to have a fantasy world that was bigger, he made a larger planet. And that also means that, like, the hurricanes are worse. The hurricane seasons are longer, and the seasons are longer. Like, they have, like, 5-year summers, 5-year autumn, like a year or two of autumn, and then 5-year winters. Yeah. Science fiction, by contrast, spends much of its time convincing the readers that its seeming impossibilities are in fact explainable if we extrapolate from the world and the science we know.
No.
I would disagree with that because, like, at least in terms of Star Wars.
Yeah, well, Star Wars is fantasy, basically.
Yeah. Star Trek, I guess, like, fits into this category, I suppose. The fantasy sci-fi split, in short, hinges on the apparently robust distinction between the socially relevant, represented by science fiction, and the socially redundant, represented by fantasy. No.
Did you just slam the book down in disgust?
Yes, I did. Well, no, I hit it like a judge's gavel. Okay, no. Flat no. Socially redundant. So how dare you? Flat, how dare you say this about fantasy? Socially redundant.
So, it's fake, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, like,
good God.
Lord of the Rings.
Fuck you, Professor.
Lord of the Rings is still culturally relevant today. It is being taught in schools. It is part of the cultural lexicon. It is very close to being a part of the great works of art, being counted as, like, in the great works, along with, like, officially as part of the great works lexicon canon, along with stuff like Alice in Wonderland, the Bible, other various influential works of literature, like the works of Alexander Dumas, Lewis Carroll, Mark Twain, that made me so angry. Okay. The flimsiness of this supposedly adamantine divide is, however...
Adamantine?
Really, really tough. Virtually indestructible.
Yep, that's
that
all
one I know off the top
flimsiness
of my head. Thank you, 40K.
Yep. Yeah.
Nick Brown brings up a good point. I wonder how many of these quotes with proper context would actually disagree with the author.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
I think every single one at this point.
Okay, the flimsiness of the supposedly adamantine divide is, however, hinted at in W.R. Irwin's insistence that no amount of actual or seeming congruity of material should exist to fantasy and science fiction being identified as to generic classification.
What?
What?
I lost some words there.
No amount of actual or seeming congruity of material should lead to fantasy and science fiction being identified as to generic classification. I don't... That sentence...
As two generic classifications. As in 1 plus 1?
No, it's like TO, generic classification.
As to generic classification. Okay,
What?
Okay, let me see. Let me pull it up so you can see.
Oh, good God.
Generic...
I have that exact same T-shirt.
Perhaps you should full screen yours so we can see better.
Yeah, let me... Solo layout.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
So...
God damn.
It's not zooming in properly done.
No, it's zooming in on your fingers, not on the text.
It's not going to come in very... Oh, maybe it will. Amount of actual or seeming congruity
Between the two as to call into question the
generic classification. Generic classification itself.
What?
Oh, fuck you, Professor! Fuck you.
This man's not a professor. He's an idiot.
It's like he quoted a sentence fragment. It's like that's not a full thought there.
No, it's not.
Yeah. Between the two as to call into question generic classification itself. At the simplest, there are generic hybrids, I mean. Films such as Alien and sequels that transgress the boundaries that these critics erect. In practice, Peter Nichols writes, fantastic categories overlap considerably. Is Alien science fiction, horror, or a monster movie? In fact, it is all three. I would agree with this.
Yeah.
That such hybrids may, in fact, have supplanted any avowed purebred sci-fi films is suggested by Brooks London's observation that throughout the sci-fi genre, there is a persistent conflict between neo-realism and out-and-out fantasy.
Neo-realism? What the fuck is that?
Okay, so Charles Calkins is asking, like, what does that mean in layman's terms? Okay, let me attempt to parse it out. So essentially what he is saying is there is a similarity between fantasy that makes us call into question generic hand-sweeping classifications. See, that took me 2 seconds.
Oh my God, you are an English teacher. You should know better.
That's why when I write books, I don't often use purple prose if it's not needed. I prefer blunt, just to the point prose. I hate reading purple prose, and I hate writing purple prose.
I will admit I have some trouble with purple prose, but I know I have trouble with purple prose, and I'm working on not having trouble with it, which means I'm trying to blunt myself down like you do.
And my purple prose is all for artful direction of certain characters. Like I said, Tap hates people. That's why he talks like a dick.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's mind-boggling how stupid this smart man is.
Yeah.
I'm so glad I have dictionary.com open.
No wonder our education system is trash.
This is in 2005. This was before this is before like the really like big crashes in education came out.
And before social justice warriors became so quotidian.
Oh my god, these people are hideous monsters.
So Wolvie, how you doing there? How are your brain cells holding up?
Pretty well.
Yeah.
Thank God we didn't have to deal with this.
Yeah.
Thank God we didn't have to deal with him.
Yeah. Thankfully we weren't listening to this in lecture form.
Oh, good God, no.
Yeah, can you imagine this as a TED Talk? Jesus.
Well, considering considering the water, should be recognized as legal personhood talk.
It's only a matter of time.
Well, it actually has already happened.
It's only a matter of time until TED Talk picks this guy up.
They might already have.
Water
and
should
in that case, it's only a matter of time before someone finds the damn video.
Yeah. Let me look. David.
Oh, yes. I agree. I'm so glad that I graduated a long time ago.
Water as personhood.
Is water wet?
Yes.
I cannot think of a more literal way to take the piss than to grant water personhood.
Yeah.
Taking the piss is a civil rights violation.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Oh, he has a TED Talk. He has a TED Talk.
No, worse. He has a YouTube channel.
What? Oh no! Oh yeah! What am I saying? Oh yes! Oh yes! That means we can actually tear him apart.
What
we
is
don't
his
have
name
to
again?
tear his books to pieces. We can tear him to pieces.
Joshua Bellin. Joshua Bellin. He only has one video.
That does not surprise me.
What's the video?
It's called Reading Film, The Boy in the Striped Pajamas.
Oh, God.
No, he goes over that. Oh, no.
Goes over what?
The Boy in the Striped Pajamas is it's about this boy whose dad is over a concentration camp during World War II Germany. And he finds this Jewish boy on the other side, and he's not aware of what's going on. He just thinks the boy's wearing striped pajamas, and they make friends and stuff. It's a depressing movie.
Oh my goodness. It's got 11 views and 0 likes, and it came out 4 months ago.
Oh.
Good for a first video, though.
No, it's it's his
Wolf, you
video.
really do need to turn your mic up.
Yeah, I'm trying to right-click on sound and it won't let me. So.
Oh.
I'll try to be closer and louder.
Yeah. So here's how it works. SC9 cover. So his first thing was 6 years ago, and then another video that. So his first thing had 277 views and it came out 6 years ago. His second video has 54 views and it was uploaded 6 years ago. His next one was, and most of these are short. Like first one 2 minutes, second one 3.5 minutes, third one 1 minute, 77 views 5 years ago. he's got a trailer for one of his books called Freefall. 2 minutes long, 122 views 3 years ago. Freefall author copies video 2 years ago, 12 views. Reading film, The Boy in the Striped Pajamas, 11 films that was released 4 months ago.
Wow.
Wow.
And how long is that last video?
9 minutes.
This guy does not know.
Smudcast it.
Yes, smudcast it. Smudcast it.
To the smudcast with it.
Yes.
Yeah, I hope, I want to see, are there more Joshua Bellin? I want,
and we're certain
I'll
it's the
probably
same
start
guy, right? We are certain.
Oh,
it's the same guy?
I believe so. He looks like him.
All right.
And,
I get it. All white
Schlock-
people look the same.
Oh man, Schlock Cold Crush Production has Alien Resurrection. I think he probably cites more of Joshua Bellin's thing.
Oh God.
Yeah, unfortunately, we probably only will get one video out of this guy because it seems like he only has one stupid thing.
His channel sounds like it's basically dead.
Yeah, it's got nothing. We are more prolific than he. We're
I have a bigger audience than him.
So do I, and I'm not even on YouTube all that much.
Yeah, he's got
my
12.
channel's basically dead.
Yeah, he has 12 subscribers.
Oh my God, he's on LinkedIn.
Really? Dang. Let's keep going. We've sidetracked. Well, real question, why is he still making videos? I don't know.
Maybe he thinks you can EFAP this.
Maybe. Let's keep going. Landon tracks this conflict to the film's technical feats, increasing the sine qua non of their identity. Sine qua non. I've never heard that word, but okay. Or that phrase, rather. SINE space QUA space NON.
Okay. You said he has 12 subscribers? I've got 13. Thank God I have more subscribers than he does. Ugh.
And subscribe.
Yep. Okay.
To Neff. No.
Special effects virtually guarantee that sci-fi films will have a strong fantasy component, confronting us with visual experience of things we know cannot be. Images that remain miraculous in spite of any cognitive exploration offered in the film. Lord of the Rings came out in 2003 and looks like it could come out today and still be hailed as groundbreaking special effects, or at least good special effects.
Star Wars came out in 1977 and it looked 10 years ahead of its time.
Yeah, Lord of the Rings is never going to not look good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Star Wars, the first 3 movies still look very good.
There are slight things with the color grading that make it relatively of its time, but that's only because I have seen a number of movies that are of that time period. Let me continue. Nor at that need one locate the identity between fantasy and science fiction solely in the realm of special effects. One might note as well that science fiction is simply not a useful designation for many films that bear its stamp. Films such as 12 Monkeys, in which the nod to science is so perfunctory as to be effectively fantastic. That sentence was meaningless. Why was it there?
If the sentence is meaningless, cut it.
Yeah, it's fantasy films have special effect. If the destination is solely special effects, films that have so little science in them, like 12 Monkeys are are in effect defined as the fantasy genre, which is just like, oh my gosh, that's so.
What is his thesis? That science fiction and fantasy are pointless terms, or that
I don't know. I don't know what he's trying to do. This is rambling, incoherent, juvenile nonsense.
This is cranking up the word count so that he can pass his class.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah, probably. CN Manlove. CN Manlove? Okay. Okay. Nice last name, buddy.
How does it feel to get quoted by a bellend?
Yeah. Yeah, it kind of reminds me of Nostalgia Critic's joke that Lieutenant Commander Cypher Rage, and he just can't stop laughing at that name because that name is so stupid.
Rage!
Yeah, and he just asks, was Lieutenant Man Awesome taken? Yep. Okay.
Wrong.
CN
Some of
Manlove.
these people have really, really unfortunate names.
Yes, they do. CN Manlove holds that science fiction always throws a rope of the conceivable, no matter how remotely so, it doesn't matter, from our world to its own, whereas fantasy does not. Yeah, okay. I would argue that such remote reaches, what does not matter is whether or not whether one terms a work science fiction or fantasy. So basically, the genres are subjective.
No! I'm sorry. In fantasy, unless it's science fantasy, the highest tech level you probably get is the crossbow. Unless it's steampunk, in which case you probably have guns or something.
Yeah.
But
Or like in Wheel of Time, where guns were in the past.
Yeah.
They were just called shock lances rather than guns. And they had cars. And then an apocalypse hit and threw technology and stuff back to the Stone Age.
Yeah.
So I would argue that, so what he says is, I would argue that such remote reaches, what does not matter is whether one terms a work science fiction or fantasy. Oh, okay. Okay, so he's saying it does not matter whether one terms work science fiction or fantasy. Okay.
Then why did he dick around for how many pages?
I don't know.
What are we on now?
We're at 16 in the middle.
Half through.
Yeah.
Yay.
For the crossover works in the other direction as well. Many sci-fi films are intrinsically fantastic, so are many fantasy films intrinsically science fictional.
No.
One more time.
Okay, so many sci-fi films are fantastic, and some are intrinsically science fictional.
Wolvie.
Sorry, I finally was able to get the microphone to work.
Okay.
Oh, nice. Yeah, you sound better. Yeah, you sound better.
Yeah, you sound much, much better.
Like, I couldn't right-click the option, so I'm like, what can I do? But now it's set.
Okay.
So please start again. Done.
Sorry.
Okay. So, if many sci-fi films are intrinsically fantastic, so are many fantasy films intrinsically science fictional.
No.
That doesn't follow.
No, that does not follow at all.
It's magic, sucker.
Wolvie, if you have something playing in the back, mute it, please.
Oh no, I don't have anything.
Then what the hell are we hearing?
Probably take your microphone's volume to about 50% of what it is now. It sounds like you cranked it to 100.
Oh, I did.
Dial it back a bit.
It sounds
okay.
It It kind of sounds like the computer noises in Muzzy, if you've ever seen that. Okay. As Klaus Schlosser and Eric Rabkin put it, science fiction appears, openly or tacitly, as the form in relation to which other forms of fantasy film shape and define themselves. That basically said nothing. It's science fiction is related to fantasy. Thus, a film such as Edward Scissorhands, though most would term it a fantasy, contains sci-fi elements. Most obviously, there are the robotic claws that give the title character his name. But less overtly, there are the unremitting intertextual references to other films of science fiction and horror that provide layers of resonance for the film and its audience. Okay?
Edward Scissorhands' hands were mechanical.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Even so, seemingly fantastic film as Wizard of Oz. That sentence is weird. Even so, seemingly fantastic a film as Wizard of Oz. Okay, see it better. I will argue in the second chapter, is beholden to the most fundamental ways of science fiction of its time. If this film seems misplaced as science fiction today, that is simply because we have lost the original context in which Depression-era viewers of the film would have experienced what we now name a pure fantasy. What? Fantasy books have been written before this point. Alice in Wonderland exists.
And I wouldn't term Wizard of Oz as science fiction. No, it's not science fiction.
Science fiction implies that it is possible to do this with the tech, with kind of extrapolations of the tech that we have today.
And the understandings that they had. Radiation is a common victim of this in fiction, where in old-timey stories thought radiation could do anything. Sort of like when stories that were predecessors to those thought lightning could do anything. Hence the idea that lightning could revive Frankenstein's monster.
Exactly.
Just because science marches on and you figure out how things work, and it basically becomes fantastical, so he's saying that Wizard of Oz was supposed to be sci-fi and we were all just really dumb back then?
I guess so. And
it's also the Velociraptors not being 2-foot chickens.
Also, yeah, it's like they're since Velociraptors in Jurassic Park, they're Deinonychus. That's
no, that's not Deinonychus. They are Utah Raptors.
Well, okay, Deinonychus / Utah Raptors. They're not Velociraptors. Velociraptors were tiny. Like
Velociraptors were the chickens.
Yeah.
And how big they are.
Uh-huh. Yeah. In some, there are simply too many factors that compromise the attempt to differentiate science fiction from fantasy. There aren't. There aren't that many. Yes. Thank you, Occupation Army. That is a very good point. Unsurprisingly, then, attempts to sustain the distinction regularly twist the critic into knots. No, they don't. As in Donald Platumbo's torturous attempt to sort out a motif that occurs in both fantasy and sci-fi films. I've never heard of most of these people.
I haven't heard of most of these people either.
You've heard of a few of them? I'm impressed.
Well, okay. Almost everyone is a new name to me.
Yeah, pretty much everybody in this is like an academic is like, I've never heard of these. Like, maybe that's on me that I haven't heard of these, but like academic theory about fantasy is just weird. Like about writing is weird for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Quote, although the underground journey motif signals and reinforces the death and rebirth theme in both fantasy and science fiction films, it does not operate in the same way in both. Okay, I would agree with this. Usually,
genre doesn't have inherent theme.
Yeah. The confluence of motif and theme is handled more literally and immediately in fantasy films, where the mystical already has precedence over the rational. Okay. But is handled more symbolically and abstractly in science fiction films, where the rational is superficially preeminent, even though the audience is still affected by the same processes of magical thinking and by the same onslaught of mythic archetypes. Close quote.
What does that whoever was quoted mean by magical thinking?
Mythic archetype. Let me see. Magical thinking and the same process. Maybe it's like this. I think maybe it's like fancy way of saying suspension of disbelief.
Maybe?
My disbelief is suspended.
Yeah.
Unfortunately for you guys, I'm going to have to get going.
Alrighty.
I got work early in the morning, and I'm starting to get a little tired.
So what page are we on?
17.
Oh, yay. Only 3 pages left.
Well, yeah. 2 and a bit, yeah. 2 weird. TOO, comma, efforts to keep fantasy and science fiction pristine often lead the critic to stray into the antiquated notion that certain forms of art passively and perfectly reflect the real world. That's BS, but I think we've gone over why that is BS earlier in the stream.
Yes, I think we have, indeed.
Yep. As in, William Cole's claimed that, quote, the realist/sci-fi artist looks outward at the world he never made. He observes the looking glass and objectively records what is reflected there. The fantasist looks inward to a world that never was, the jungle of his own psyche. He passes through the looking glass into the subjective world of distortion and illusion.
The subjective world?
Bullshit. Bullshit, no.
Yeah, let me find something really quick.
I can't even read this. Come on, this is bullshit. Are you buying this?
I wondered when that was gonna come in handy.
Yeah.
Yep. Lord of the Rings had come out by this time period. It's okay. Maybe it's metaphorical. Maybe it's more
he
metaphorical.
was born in. Let's see. You said 1956.
So this is quote. Let me see. These notes to pages. Introduction. 1. Oh dear.
Oh God.
Okay, so
let me guess. His notes aren't any better, are they?
Okay, so it's just like notes introduction. For those who enjoy perusing guides to fantasy film, there are many from which to choose. For a sampling, see Annan, Kinnard, Nichols, Searles, and Van Guten. End. And that's the quote for this last one. Okay, next is even more problematically, this lapse into reflectionist thinking all too commonly undergirds the argument that since fantasy, as opposed to science fiction, bears no relationship to social reality, its significance must lie in its universal qualities.
You keep using that word. I do not think it means what it. I do not think it means what you think it means.
Okay, so what he is saying is reflectionist thinking undergirds the argument that fantasy bears no relationship to social reality. Its significance lies in its universal qualities, not in how it's tied to what has come out then. You say that like it's a bad thing.
Or that this is a universal truth. Maybe some are and maybe some aren't. That would be the rational way to look at something like this.
Yeah, like
you absolute moron.
Yeah, like A Song of Ice and Fire has pretty universal qualities in terms of, like, it is showing the glorification of war, or it is showing that war, like, might be exciting, but there are lots of consequences.
Yep.
Yeah. Occupation Army, I got this book for $19 used. So, yeah, no, I didn't. I got this as cheap as I could. Okay.
Assume it will be used and abused.
Yes. Well, I've already hit it against the desk.
I heard a theory once of, at least, even if it's fiction or science fantasy, it should at least be a believable world that you can live in.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, and the difference between looking at a reflection and then recording it accurately versus diving into some fantasy world and then recreating it. He's not describing the difference between fantasy and sci-fi. He's describing the difference between fiction and non-fiction.
Exactly.
All fiction is fundamentally a lie.
Yeah, which is why I keep going. We keep using that one clip. That word does not mean what you think it means. You are not comparing what you think you are comparing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we gotta look at this guy's LinkedIn page. It's a paragraph, but you will laugh your ass off.
Oh, sure. Get that ready while I read. Okay, as Atterbury phrases this argument, science fiction is so much a mirror of the writer's own time and place that science fiction stories from the turn of the century or the 1950s could be used by historians as documents of vanished worldviews of futures past. I would agree with that. Like, the time travel.
Futures past?
Well, like, what originally people thought was going to be the future and the past.
It's just a really wonky way to word it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, like how the time traveler thought that we would have like the Morlocks and stuff, or
hoverboards by 2015, I think it was.
And a religion based on being excellent to one another.
Yeah, or 2019, where in a Demolition Man, where there would be nothing, where like basically actually kind of cromulent, where you have basically like violence and sex being taken out, and there aren't, like, they have to bring an alpha male back from the past in the form of Sylvester Stallone.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Or, the nerve gear and atmosphere from SAO. That's happening in 2 years, apparently.
Great. Great. Fantasy
I
on
wish.
on the other hand, posits a barrier between the fictional universe and the reader's own. Basically, suspension of disbelief. Fine. Because the fantasy world and the axioms that underlie it are radically unlike our own. Yeah, true. The reader is forced to see connections in other than rational external directions relating to the portrayed reality instead of to myth, dream, and other manifestations of psychological and metaphysical principles. What such indigenous discriminations, polarities, and oppositions fail to entertain is precisely what the thesis of this book contends. That it is.
Hang on. Could you repeat the start of that? The start of that again? Something about indigenousness.
Indigenous discriminations, polarities, and oppositions fail to entertain. What these things fail to entertain is precisely what this thesis of this book contends. That it is the capricious relationship fantasies bear toward their social context that lends them their social power.
Bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think of the idea that someone will take something that's clearly showing something racist or something, and they'll show it in a parody, and then someone else will take it and they'll say this is racist, and it's like, no duh. It's supposed to show how this is bad, not I'm supporting it.
Yeah. I think that at that point you have to take a look at author intentionality, because and also like, since it would kind of be the difference between how the Umbrella Academy depicts racism when they go back in time versus how Blazing Saddles treats racism.
I just watched that movie recently.
Oh. Well, it's Cromulent, I suppose. But yeah, it's kind of like they're saying, it seems as though like, yeah, you would have to kind of like if you're doing it for drama, I think it's harder to tell with comedy than it is than with drama, because with comedy, some people can make the argument like, no, you're portraying a racist stereotype in a harmful way, like this is not cool. And with something like Michael Bay's Transformers, where you have literal two black monkey-faced robots that are illiterate and are extremely annoying, I would say that is pretty friggin' racist. Like, I can't disagree with anybody that says that is not racist. It's like, no, that like, but then again, Michael Bay hates everybody. He hates his audience. He hates the people who are forcing him to make this movie.
He especially hates the Transformers lore.
Yep,
yeah.
He does.
Do you think Blazing Saddles was a good way to put a man of color in power?
I have not watched it, so I can't comment.
I can't comment either.
You mean in power as in the whole being a sheriff thing, or in the whole all the fourth walls break down and he's an audience member thing?
I think they're not just saying, like, they're putting them there for, like, they show a good job of why he's a good hero, and it's like, show not tell. He's just a good character.
I would say that was a good example of putting a black guy in the forefront. Yeah. And I think that kind of the part where he says, "Hey, where are the white women at?" is meant as a joke.
Yes.
Yeah. I didn't watch many movies. I mostly watched the same movies over and over again as a kid. And my family didn't really. The only Mel Brooks movie I've ever watched beginning to end is Robin Hood Men in Tights.
No
I've watched 3 Mel Brooks movies in the past week.
Oh, nice. Let's continue. We only have a little bit left. I think we can do this. Okay. If then my choice of fantasy films appears overly inclusive, I believe that such inclusiveness is necessary not only to do justice to the actual dimensions of the genre, but to forestall what I consider to be the unsupportable implications about the fantasy film's relation to social reality. Like that there isn't one, and you are reading way too much into it. It's so stupid. This is really just factually wrong. So, like, what bearing does Lord of the Rings have to the social? Like, I guess we'll find out. But like, Lord of the Rings is a movie that is made in a separate universe about a conflict that is black and white. Not literally, as friggin' Cinematic Venom puts forward. We need to watch that. Lord of the Rings fans in the chat, please come forward. I would like you on that one. I'll also put it out in the Discord. I want people to be really angry at this man. Because this man is factually wrong.
I'm not a fan of the books, but I'm a fan of the movies.
Oh, that's what he's criticizing. Oh, that's what he's criticizing.
enjoyed the movies.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So, but he's saying that both the books and the movies are bad.
What?
Yes.
Bloody hell no. I may not like the books. I may find them to be boring as all hell because I don't get the stuff in it. But those are well-written books, and I'm willing to admit that. Are they my kind of books? No. But are they good books? Yes.
So what he says is Lurtz is not in the books, but he's the best part of Fellowship of the Ring. York guy. He also says
sure
that
this is the right guy?
He also says that writing 800 pages is lazier than writing a more condensed script.
Writing 800 pages is lazy.
Yes.
Good God.
Yeah, and he still holds this position on Twitter, even though EFAB spent 9 hours debunking every single one of his pathetic arguments. Yeah. So the guy does what? Yeah, he keeps sniping at Twitter. He's saying Lord of the Rings is bad on Twitter. He's like, when somebody said, Amazon said, what's your favorite Lord of the Rings film? He said, none of them. They're all bad.
No. No. My favorite one is probably, which one?
It's one of my friend's favorite movies is Return of the King. She was like, I've never had a favorite movie before, but this is my favorite movie now after we watched it.
Well, my favorite, I think, was Twin Towers.
Two Towers. Twin Towers was something else.
Two Towers. I mean, sorry.
There were actual petitions to get that name changed. Because proximity. But let's continue. At the same time, such inclusiveness more accurately maps the outlines of the fantasy genre. I believe it likewise offers a more robust, capacious understanding of the film genre itself. If that is, fantasy and sci-fi genres allow signs of interbreeding and tend to collapse when viewed through any number of individual lenses. This may reflect that the genre consists not solely or simply of a film's observable features, but of the relationship between these textual factors and the realm of cultural work or social function. Okay, let's try and piece this out. Signs of when they're viewed from an individual lens, they tend to collapse, and this is because it's not just the observable features, but the relationship between textual factors and the cultural realm of cultural work and social function. That's a meaningless sentence. Okay. Genre, do you really understand? Like, genre is a classification for marketing purposes.
Categorization-wise, genre is less something that is a singular thing that any work is in. I can actually speak to this from experience working databases of all things, and it's more of a keyword that can be added to a list of keywords that a work qualifies. You can have science fiction, and you could have fantasy, and you could have horror, and you could have giant monsters. Mm-hmm. And you could have giant robots, and you could have sword fighting. None of these things are mutually exclusive.
No, they're not. So it's what? Okay. Are you sure that this LinkedIn profile is the right one?
You saw it, didn't you? You peeked.
Of course I peeked!
Alrighty, let's keep
If this is the right one, holy God!
Do you want to you can share your screen if you want, and pull it up when we get it ready.
I will.
Okay. Well, once we finish with we're on page 18, folks.
Yay.
Yay. Okay. So, Kuhn believes that efforts to draw lines of demarcation between science fiction and its neighboring genres have proved, on the whole, unsatisfactory because more interesting and probably more important than what film genre is the question of what, in cultural terms, it does its cultural instrumentality.
Instrumentality. Ow. Ow. You reminded me of Evangelion. Screw you.
Yes. Good God, go away.
Well, it's it's basically what it is doing for cultural instrumentality is more important than what the film genre is. To an extent, I guess, but that implies that fantasy film has the that kind of impact.
Oh, good God.
Yeah. I need to figure out a way to share this that's more efficient because I need to show you the insane quotes that I'm reading right now. I wish we all had this book, the ability to have this book in front of us.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I would argue that what a film genre is not uninteresting, but is interesting precisely because what genre is depends in large part, indeed, may be indistinguishable from what genre does. Okay?
You said a whole lot of nothing.
Yeah.
Just now.
Yeah. Genre, according to this prescription, would emerge only through a multidimensional approach, such as one sketched by Steele Nave. An approach that situates film text as in social and historical context. What the fetch? Okay.
Yeah.
Multidimensional approach. Okay, he's going to describe his terms. So let's read this. Quote: What is required is a set of concepts from which the pressure of genre may begin to be located, in terms of the relations of subjectivity involved, in terms of the structures and practices both of the cinematic institution as a whole and the sector known variously as Hollywood or as the commercial cinema, and in terms of the determinants and effects of which these within and across the social formation and its component areas. Okay.
I hate word salads so much.
Yeah, it's it tastes like semen.
How do you know what semen tastes like?
It tastes like mental because it's raping my ears and my brain.
Yeah.
You taste with your ears? I go way too far into this.
Yeah. So it's okay, fantasy is easy to define. You look at the elements and you say, okay, based on these, and there are ever expanding numbers of genres as more people come up with them.
It's as if he hasn't ever heard of science fantasy.
Yeah. Same with Lovecraft created the fantasy horror genre by himself. Tolkien invented the epic fantasy genre. Robert Jordan expanded upon it. Brandon Sanderson has perfected it. George R.R. Martin, Joe Abercrombie, and Mark Lawrence have pioneered the grimdark fantasy genre. Alrighty, we're getting close. Okay, in accordance with Nell's model, it becomes less consequential to the question of generic identity that 12 Monkeys contains advanced technology in futuristic settings, characteristics normally reserved for science fiction, or that Species 1995 contains sudden scares and grotesque makeup, characteristics normally imputed to horror, than that, as with all films studied within, these and other textual features operating in conjunction with industrial pressures, evident audience subjectivities, and social formations perform peculiar cultural work. Thus, all the films in this study are fantasy films because their doubly ambiguous relationship to social reality. By rendering fantastic scenarios incarnate, they lead to false propositions. Black men are lustful apes. Unwed mothers are deadly predators, and the like. The lineaments of the credible. Okay, so it's just because, like, symbolically they do these things, they could be rendered slightly credible because they're happening in front of our screen. That's what this man is saying. And it's like, oh my goodness. They perform cultural work. No, they don't.
No, they really, really don't.
Yeah, it's like you could argue this of films such as Black Klansman. Sorry to bother you. Green Book does this badly by all accounts. Let's keep going. Ultimately, then, grouping of all these fantasies grounds an argument for both the fantasy genre and for genre itself. It enables a recognition of genre as enacting a prominent cultural work, and it enables a recognition of the fantasy genre's cultural work as the activity of amplifying specific existing prejudices through specific imaginary elements. You admit they are imaginary, you idiot.
Oh, bloody moron. But then again, we already knew this.
Yep. This being the case, I turn to what might seem a second quirk of my choice of films, my habit of employing as representative of a particular form of alienation, not the most obvious case, but quite the contrary, films that have routinely been understood as flights of pure fancy, related to their social contexts only in the sense of representing technical milestones in the history of the cinematic apparatus. Yes. It's like no, these don't really. The only thing that it has in reference to this, to like cultural work, is the number of actors portrayed on screen of a specific color. Like,
are you ready to throw the book out the window yet?
No, I'm getting too much mileage out of it. Okay. The Wizard of Oz, for instance, serves as my example of the alienation of the poor.
Oh, good God, no.
Jurassic Park is my principal illustration of the attack on female liberation.
Fuck off. No.
Harry Potter Sinbad trilogy is my test case for the travestying of foreign peoples in film and fact.
No. No.
In which case, more notorious possibilities spring to mind. For the first, James Whale's Frankenstein or any of its modern reincarnations. For the second, The Brood, or The Witches of Eastwick, or for the third, Men in Black, or Disney's widely decried Aladdin. Okay.
And of course, he's not talking about the live action. He's talking about the animated, which is the animated Aladdin is a masterpiece.
Yeah, it is.
I agree.
And it's like they're trying to say like it travestying of foreign peoples, and it's saying that Frankenstein, The Brood, The Witches of Eastwick, and Men in Black travestize foreign people. I would disagree with this. Frankenstein is just a dude creates something, and his hubris leads to lots of people dying because he messed with science, because he himself was an unqualified hack. Benioff, take notes.
Please take notes.
But
then again, he's not going to because I feel stupid.
Yep. I choose less straightforwardly alienating films, however, to further two interrelated ends. On the one hand, I wish to illustrate that even the most seemingly fantastic of films can be played in their specific social context and plumbed for their role in the activity of framing monsters. Okay, so basically what he is saying is I am picking films that seem innocuous and bringing out racist things so that I can seem smarter. These things don't exist in them. So I'm avoiding even the, kind of better examples because I want to be seen as highly interpretive. Great job, you just sound like a hack.
And an idiot at that.
Yep. On the other, I hope to support the claim that I just made concerning the common cultural work of the fantasy genre. Doesn't have a cultural work, you idiot. To show the processes of social alienation are characteristic of the fantasy film and film genre as a whole, and not merely as the relatively few films this study could accommodate. This man is delusional. This man is very delusional. Like he's making these nothing arguments. And this is the introduction. We haven't gotten into the specifics. Next week is King Kong. Oh gosh. Just as the wayward puckish character of some fantasy films is strategic for their ideological operations, the blurriness of the fantasy genre may serve as an impediment to recognizing the genre's corporate project.
Corporate profit?
Project. What? The all over the map nature of the genre militates. I've never seen it. Militates against attempts to understand such serious cultural works synthetically, not as the work of individual exceptions or aberrations, but as the work of the whole. I probably resist attempts to understand bad cultural work as a synthetic part of it, I guess.
Oh, good God.
Militate. Be a powerful or a conducive factor in preventing. So not only is he using big words, but if he actually knows the definition, he thinks this is the thing that's going to finally put the nail in the coffin of all those racists.
Yeah.
That word! I do not think it means what you think it means. Ugh.
So the guy has a word.
And I feel like a broken record because I keep saying that, but it's true.
Either he doesn't know what these words mean, or he's completely and totally arrogant. I believe both.
Yes.
But we'll be talking.
Oh, so this guy has a word salad, but it seems he's just lettuce.
Okay.
Good one.
Carrots are indestructible.
Yep. At all times, as such, my choice of films is motivated by the belief that excavating this work in extreme cases, extreme in the sense of unlikely, might illustrate my claims for the whole better by studying more transparent examples. So, you're making stuff up to make yourself sound intelligent.
Well, we already knew that.
Yeah, but at least he's admitting it, that I am being hyper-interpretive and making stuff up and lying to my readers in order to, and making crap up, like, when Alan Grant is on the helicopter going to Jurassic Park, he is given 2 feminine belt buckles that don't fit together, so he has to tie them together, thereby subduing 2 recalcitrant sisters.
Or it represents gay marriage.
Yeah. Yeah. Specifically lesbian. Because they're too non-phallic. Okay. At all times during the writing of the study, I have been aware of the pressure of those other examples crowding the background. I resisted including them here, but I hope that their presence will be, at least tangentially, evident to the reader as well. To cite only 2 examples that would have been particularly painful to resist, I have spared only brief moments for the Star Wars and Lord of the Rings sagas, 2 of the most powerful examples of fantasy film and of alienation therein of recent years, but examples that come to
Alienation? What?
probably because there's just a bunch of white people. And
Oh, good God. Mace fucking Windu.
Yeah.
Every alien ever. Most of the Jedi Council weren't even human.
Lando Calrissian, James Earl Jones. Okay. Of recent years, but examples that have come to the screen too late and too sprawling to discuss fairly and comprehensively. Because they're really, really departed from reality, or at least they used to be. I certainly hope the Lord of the Rings doesn't get super woke, because that would be annoying. I would be very heartbroken if Wheel of Time
This guy is blatantly lying and admitting it, hoping people will keep reading. That's a bold move, Cotton. Let's see how it plays out. Dodgeball. A true underdog story movie quote.
Yep, we're almost finished.
Oh no, it's fine. I could keep going for another hour even if I needed to. But
Yeah. As such, if the reader concludes that the other, perhaps more suitable choices could have been found, I trust that this study will have played a part in calling those choices, the strategies they perform, and their place within the enduring tradition to the reader's attention. Aladdin's just a kid's film, its iteration of an Arabian Nights story.
and it has a very, very clear moral story behind it.
Yep. This study, in sum, considers the ways in which, throughout their long history, fantasy films have spoken to a shifting, contingent, but nevertheless coherent, array of social discourses and practices. It seeks to view these films as a tradition, one united not formally but functionally and philosophically. And it is my hope that in pursuing a prominent, I might argue a pivotal vein that runs through the fantasy film tradition, this study will deepen the reader's appreciation not only for the fantasy genre, but of the real world places within which this genre's monstrous being came to cultural life. End of introduction.
Thank God.
No, this has not deepened any appreciation for fantasy. I imagine this would make people hate fantasy if they actually took this on board.
If they took this at face value, sure.
Yeah. Oh man. Friggin' hate this book.
That was painful to read.
And just wait, we're getting specific arguments in the next one. He's kind of being broad and generalized. Now we get into the specifics.
How long
boy.
are each chapter, roughly?
What?
How long are these chapters, roughly?
Let me check. Okay. Okay. 21 to 47 is Killing the Beast in reference to King Kong. Promise of Miracles with Wizard of Oz is 22 pages. Monsters of the Middle East is is 35 pages.
Oh God!
Dragon Ladies, Fantasy Film and Family Values is
Dragon Ladies.
I bet that's the Jurassic Park one.
Angry Daenerys noises.
Yep, Jurassic Park and Alien. And then that's Dragon Ladies is 30 pages.
Ugh.
Monstrous Minds, Fantasy Film and Mental Illness is one specific for about 27 pages. Seeing Things, the Freaking Film, Chapter 6 is 65 to it's 31 pages. And then the conclusion is 4 pages. Is about 3 pages.
How much do you guys want to bet that all of the chapters could be at least cut in half if this person had been blunt as hell? As blunt as possible.
I feel the Arab one could probably be cut down into fourths.
Yeah, we
that one's like twice as long as what we just went over, and this was 2 streams.
Yeah.
They get longer. They're even longer.
The introduction was the shortest chapter.
Apart from the conclusion, which is about 3 pages.
Well, at least we know that he can be brief. Now, if only he'd been brief for the entire freaking book. Ugh. Because just listening to this word salad of purple prose is painful.
Oh, man. This book is so bad. This book is really bad. This book is really bad, bro. This is so bad, bro.
Okay. For some reason, I'm getting adult coloring books as related items to this book on Amazon. I'm not surprised.
So, is everybody well and truly afraid for next week?
Excited.
Yes.
We're dealing with a personal project. Be very afraid. Yeah. Well.
So you said the guy has a YouTube channel? He's like, I don't know what I'm talking about, but don't forget to like and subscribe.
Yeah, 2 months ago. He's only got 6 videos, the longest one being 9 minutes.
Yeah, and for the record, that LinkedIn thing I found, that could not have been him.
Yeah, really?
Yeah, 'cause if it was, that would have been stupid.
Well, we could read it just as like a palate cleanser after this.
Yeah, but then it's not as funny, because the reason I thought it was so funny is because there's a line where it describes this Joshua Bellin is a tanker operator in Wyoming, so probably not him.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
And what makes it definitely not him, superior communicator. Readily distills the most complex of materials into easily understood, compelling presentations.
I wish this were.
Why couldn't this Joshua Bellin write this book?
Yeah,
so this book was the easy to understand version.
Yeah. It really said something when the tanker driver has superior communication skills to an English professor. It says really bad things about the English professor.
Yep, it does. Yeah. Alrighty. Well, it seems as though we're at that part of the show where we must inevitably say one single word.
Holy shit. Okay, we're going.
Yeah, in the Japanese, he's actually saying 5.
Alrighty.
He's saying what in Japanese?
5.
Alrighty.
5?
It's new Sanji, go.
Alright. Well, alrighty. Now that we've said it, we must go.